Hello, everyone, and welcome back to, again, another one of your favorite videos on this platform called YouTube, a backlot banter box office recap, a little bit of box office ballyhoo
Boom, there
from
we
yours
go.
truly,
That
Tanner
now that's
Dykstra,
how you
and
know it's a real intro when we say that
yeah,
phrase.
yes, I don't know if I said that last time, but we're back. We're back with the box office
Back at it like a
ballyhoo.
really good habit, actually. This is a great
A
habit to
good
have.
habit, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I said, I'm Tanner Dykstra. I'm joined by my good friend and ballyhooer, Tucker Hazel, and we're here to
That's
talk
something we
about
shouldn't say.
a ballyhooer.
We'll talk about that off camera.
Okay. We'll reassess. But anyway, Tucker, we're here to talk about August 2023 at the box office. Are we
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. We are,
It-
actually.
yeah, coming hot off the presses of a fantastic July.
Yes.
It seems that the dog days of summer are over for the box office
Yeah.
in August,
They made a
and
song about that.
they did. And that was another big hit of the summer, but no big hits of the summer to be found in August,
No.
sadly,
Well,
as we'll talk
kind
about.
of.
Okay, well, we'll talk. Tucker. We'll be talking
Yeah.
about talking about every one of the major releases that released in August. But before we get into that, I want to tell you to like this video, subscribe to Backlot Banter, join the Discord. That link's down in the description. Comment down below your thoughts on the box office this month, or this past month rather, and tell us your favorite movie that released in August as well.
Yeah.
Just why not?
Yeah.
So we have the box
Everyone
office
saw
results.
all of them.
We also have some interesting new additions from the brains of the
Oh,
operation,
yeah.
Tucker Hazel.
Thank you. They call me the
And
brains and the brawn. You're just...
yeah,
What? I don't even know what you are.
I'm the and.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, Tucker, let's get into it, and let's first of all look at the top 10 domestic openings of the month.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because it's a lot closer than usual. We're so used to having one or two movies at the top just being so ungodly far ahead of everything else. But no, like, this top four here especially is like, within $15 million, and that's pretty tight of a race, all things considered.
That's pretty tight, dude.
Right.
But yeah, up at the top, we got Meg 2, The Trench, with just over $30 million opening weekend, followed closely by TMNT Mutant Mayhem with $28 million. I believe that's just the 3-day weekend, even though that film released on a Wednesday.
Yeah. Did you get the 4-day? Or
actually, no, that
the
probably is
5-day? What would it fucking be?
That probably is the 5-day, I would say.
Okay.
Because when I looked on a Box Office Mojo, which is where we source all these numbers from, a little bit of behind the baseball here, that is what it said for its opening weekend.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I believe him.
Yeah.
Blue
Blue Beetle with a little over 25. Then rounding out that top 5, we have number 4, based on a true story, Gran Turismo with $17 million, and Strays falling far behind that top 4 with $8 million.
Yeah. Okay, Strays. All right. Well, you got in the top 5 at least. And then we have The Last Voyage of the Demeter couldn't even make 8.
Yeah, that's
man.
tough.
Oh, man.
And then just the hits of the summer that were rounding out the rest of that top 10. Liam Neeson's Retribution.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid's The Hill. Helen Mirren's Golda. And Ben Kingsley's Jules.
It's pretty dire out here. In all honesty, I hadn't heard of like 4 of these movies.
We also do not include like the anniversary re-releases, because those technically Jurassic Park and I believe Coraline would have both been in the top 10.
Oh, sure, those. Yeah. Because we had National Cinema Day. We actually didn't make a slide about this because it frankly wasn't as interesting as last year's was.
Not as big of a splash.
Last year was the
first annual.
Yeah, first time it happened, but Top Gun Maverick came back and was number 1 at the fucking box office when it came back. And Spider-Man No Way Home, one of the highest grossing movies of all time, re-released. And I mean, Coraline came back, and Jurassic World's in 3D, but or Jurassic Park was in 3D, but no one talked about those. And I think it's really cool that we have National Cinema Day, but I think they need to try a little harder, frankly. I don't know. I don't know which fucking corporation, which faceless, nameless corporation is putting on this event. It's very cool that they do it, but they need to sync it with something. They need to sync it with like a solid B tier release that people are really excited to go out for, and they need to promote it. Maybe do it twice a year, but it is cool, and it does help, especially in August, which is historically a very weak month, to boost interest a little bit. And I'm sure more people saw more of these movies. I think probably Mutant Mayhem, the one that really paid off the most from this, and Blue Beetle. But We didn't even feel like making a slide for it because, frankly, I kind of forgot that it happened.
Yeah, it's also weird because later in this month, I believe September 22nd, they're doing like a special Barbie re-release.
Oh.
So it's weird that they didn't do that for National Cinema Day. But this Barbie release has like post-credits footage or something like that, which is interesting.
The stinger for Tubi.
Yeah, it's a stinger for Ken, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, they're doing like this Barbie push again, much like Top Gun Maverick had last year. And it's weird that they didn't sync that up with National Cinema Day, or just delay National Cinema Day till later this month. Which, a little transparently, skipping to the end, looking ahead, this month is probably going to need some help as well.
Yes. Yes.
But Tucker, let's stick to August, and let's look at what we thought was going to shake out for the top 5 this month.
Yeah. So the real turnout again. We're looking at this slide, and I just want to remind you: Meg 2, The Trench, Mutant Mayhem, Blue Beetle, Gran Turismo, and Strays. And so I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 of them in the top 5, and I got 3 of them in the right order.
Tucker, I believe, not to, this may sound underhanded, but it seems like the first time in a while that you've won one of these handily.
That's actually true. And usually it's like, oh, okay, we changed 1 or 2, but you and I actually made some really significant different predictions here. You did get correctly Gran Turismo. That's actually the only one you placed correctly. And I didn't have that on there at all. For whatever reason, I was gunning for Last Voyage of Demeter.
Hey, you're the only one, pal.
Yeah. We both like that movie more than Gran Turismo.
Yes. But yeah, I famously had very little faith in Blue Beetle, and it ended up being, not a complete travesty, but, not good by any stretch of the imagination.
Still a solid travesty.
Yeah. Meg 2 ended up surprising me more than, bringing it like a Spider-Verse sized crowd
but
out
no,
for Mutant
Mayhem. Let's be fair to you. It's within $2 million, Tanner.
That's
you
true.
are fine. That was a very okay prediction to make.
That's okay. Yeah. And then, like, Strays, I overestimated slightly. But bit. Yeah. Tucker, congratulations.
Thank you. It feels good. Is this what it feels like?
There we go. That's what
I feel like I'm going to, raise hell, go out in the streets and yodel.
And yodel. Okay, well, we'll make that some bonus content, maybe.
Sure.
But speaking of some bonus content, look at this. Tucker, you made a little
new content. It's not bonus
content.
This is free. This is fucking straight from the sick twisted mind of Tucker Hazel. Comparisons, movie comparisons. Yeah, can you fucking imagine? I dreamed up this little slide where I think last month I had a collection of the different cinema scores that the movies I had released had gotten. But I wanted to make it a little more visually pleasing here because I kind of just slapped it together last time. And so at the top here, you can see that there's actually only 3 cinema scores distributed through the 6 main releases that we had this month, being A, B+, and B. So we're kind of in that range there. And I'd say this is, other than Gran Turismo being an A cinema score, I'm okay with, these scores kind of make sense.
Yeah, I'm okay
Gran
with
Turismo
this.
should be a B, though.
Yeah,
can we just lie and, move it over to see if anyone notices?
Who's gonna check? Really?
It isn't really a fact show, it's a vibe show.
Yeah, you also have the tomato meter scale here, which I also like. And this is the
thermatometer.
Yeah.
Thermatometer. That's where we're fun calling
I like that.
Yeah, where it goes from, and maybe I should reverse this next time, but it goes from rotten on the left, starting at 0%, to certified fresh, full 100% on the side. And you can see we've got a pretty nice spread here, going from the Meg 2 all down there in the mid-20s to a good bunching up in the 50s, the mid-50s, low 60s. And then Blue Beetle doing good, being fresh, actually edging on certified fresh, I believe. And then, Jesus Christ, God Almighty, Mutant Mayhem at a 97%. It actually went up since it came out. The first week of release, I made the slide and it said 96, but then, spoiler alert for the next fucking slide, it's up to 97. So, holy crap. No one hates that movie.
Yeah, I agree. I don't hate that movie. You don't hate that movie.
I don't think we know anyone who does. So
yeah. But yeah, I like this slide, Tucker. I think it'll be fun to continue to do this throughout the year, especially as we get into maybe some awards darlings in the fall and winter.
That's a great point. Might be a little more crowded up at the top end.
Yeah.
Though we've also had some, especially last year, had some awards darlings not perform correctly.
Ooh, that's a great point. That'll be fun.
Like The Sun and I don't know, Babylon.
Blonde as well. I believe Blonde is a low scoring. But yes, I like this, Tucker. I look forward to seeing how this changes in the future.
Thank you.
But yeah, Mutant Mayhem, as we talked about, certified fresh, the only certified fresh movie to have been released this month.
Yeah.
Widely beloved by audiences and critics.
Yeah.
And being a solid box office success. Not making any big splash. I as well as some others, I think, were thinking that like, oh, the animation style, the comedy style, just revitalizing this like well-known IP is going to bring out maybe an Into the Spider-Verse sized crowd for this, and that wasn't the case.
No.
But it's not a disappointment, I don't think.
No, I actually think this is good for what they are really aiming to do here, which is, again, revitalize a franchise that's been tried a lot of times, but not in this way. The only movie I compared it to here was TMNT from 2007, which is the only other solely animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which is why I wanted to compare the two. You can see that it's already blown past basically everything that one did there. That one costs a lot less to make, but this movie's still outperforming that. It's way more well received, and I think what's the good thing about this is, so it's made back its budget of $70 million, total of $153 million. It's a profitable movie, but it also
100%.
is the beginning of something. This is them making a new style of turtles that are going to appeal to a new demographic. Lots of toys being sold in this. Lots of fucking, I don't know, lunch boxes and like stickers, and like this is a merchandisable movie. So it's great that this movie is profitable, but most of the money that's going to go to Paramount from this is actually from merchandising, and also the potential for sequels. And as you can see here, a sequel film is in development, and also there's a follow-up show in development called Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that's going to be going to Paramount Plus. So they've got a lot of confidence in this. Not that I'm excited that there's going to be a Paramount Plus show, but it is a good thing for the proliferation of this version of the Turtles brand. And I can see that next movie opening to a major box office opening, because much like what Spider-Verse did is, open fine and perform fine, but this is definitely going to gain a lot of fans over the course of the next few years while that next movie is in development. Kids are going to be watching it on Paramount Plus. They're going to be watching that show that is probably going to tease and be advertising that next movie. The style of this Turtles is going to be again, like, with kids we're going to be having toys of this. And so they're really building towards something here. Which also, I believe, Paramount tried earlier this year with Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is not paying off for them. But they've successfully started a quote-unquote new franchise for themselves here.
I also, you talk about the TMNT thing being a new franchise, but what I think is impressive about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is that it's an IP that Paramount has never really let rest or stay idle.
Sure.
Because there is always a new iteration of mostly TV series. I believe when we were like in our teens, there was a 3D animated one, and then as we aged out of it, I actually just pulled it up here on Wikipedia. From 2018 to 2020, there was a 2D animated series called The Rise of the
they got like a little chunkier style, I believe, for that one.
Yeah. There was a Netflix movie that came out of those versions as well after the show ended, and now we are immediately, just a couple years, 1 year after we close the chapter on that, into a new iteration of these characters
with that new TV show, and also across the board, lots of video games. The Turtles not only had Shredder's Revenge last year and the Cowabunga collection, collecting all of the old arcade, Game Boy, NES, fucking Genesis beat 'em up Turtles games, but there's a reasonably high budget Last Ronin game coming out within the next couple years.
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting that they're diving into it so headstrong, but I think it'll pay off for them. I think this will be probably the most popular Turtles have been in 15 years once this movie really starts to gain its audience. Especially
because they feel much different from a writing standpoint. We'll have to see if that stays true in the Paramount Plus series.
It was the same cast. The kids are coming back to voice these Turtles, so that's good. I don't know if Jackie Chan is coming back as Splinter, though.
If they can get Rose Byrne and John Cena and Seth Rogen and
Paul
Post
Rudd,
Malone and all those people back, and Mr. Beast, of course, can they get him back?
Yeah, that character's gonna get his own spin-off show.
Times Square guy or whatever. But I think it'll be. I think this will prove strong for Paramount going forward, having an animated theatrical series now that they're crossing over into TV. And yeah, maybe this one didn't hit that Into the Spider-Verse, but I think maybe at scale it'll be a kind
Well,
of Into the Spider-Verse across the Spider-Verse kind of
exactly,
deal.
exactly. I think that the comparison is fair with Into the
Hmm.
Spider-Verse, and not Across the Spider-Verse, which we're just coming
Yeah,
out
of
of. That's one
course.
of the highest grossing movies of the year. But the fact that Spider-Man is already more popular than the Turtles, so there's
Yeah,
going to be more box office potential for Into the Spider-Verse, even though it did,
of course.
kind of underperform. But yeah, I think this is just good news all around for a strongly creative new vision for this franchise. Another great animated series for us to watch, and also just
Hmm.
from another studio. Like, this isn't
Yeah.
Sony Pictures Animation. This isn't Pixar. This isn't DreamWorks. We're
Hmm.
getting a new high quality animation studio that, frankly, could use these next couple. I'm sorry, I don't even know the name of the studio, but could use these next couple Turtles movies to really springboard them into another major theatrically released animation
Yeah.
studio, and which is really really good because there's not too much competition in that realm.
I'd also like to point out, just last thing on Mutant Mayhem here, that budget is also quite impressive.
Mm,
When we're coming out of the summer of Elemental, which we initially sort of lambasted for having a $200 million
yeah,
budget, and then Across the Spider-Verse, which we were like, wow, only $100 million. This cut that down to 70.
yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, there was not any mistreatment of any animators on this project, but Seth Rogen, of course, is no stranger to being involved in that kind of thing.
Oh.
So, which I also think might be good marks because he did get into some hot water when it came to paying animators for Sausage
That's a great
Party.
point. That's a great point.
And so he probably, hopefully, seems to have learned his lesson as a producer on this one as well.
Yeah. So, but we got another movie came out
Yes.
around the same time, actually, same day. Oops, I
Yeah.
forgot those came out at the exact same time.
Hmm.
And this is the one I was iffing you on when you said there was no like big box office splash this month, because
That's a fair
that's just
point.
categorically untrue when we have a movie
Sure.
making almost $400 million and easily at least three times more, if not more, than every other movie that released this summer. Meg to the Trench with $376 million in a month, and it's still sticking around. It's not doing great anymore, but it's
Yeah.
still doing fine. And I want to point out one thing here. We've got the Meg down the bottom. I like to do my little sequel comparison. There's
Yeah.
one very funny element here. This movie cost $1 million less to make than the Meg,
Okay.
which is just really funny to me because we're so used
Hmm.
to it being, if not significantly more for a sequel, because oh my god, look how successful the first one is. Let's
Hmm.
double down on that, give it a bigger budget, try to give it a bigger push, try to get more box office out of it.
Yeah.
At least somewhat bigger. But no, they just kept it the same and actually shrunk it down. Not enough to make it like crazy,
Yeah.
but like they kept it the same even despite
Yeah.
inflation. And so even though this movie is not performing as hugely as the first one, it is still a success. And it's kind of interesting that they've been able to like rein in their budget in that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's something to applaud, I think, as well. Obviously, these Meg movies play very well overseas,
Yes.
especially in Chinese markets.
Yeah, you notice
But
on the bottom there, a third of this movie's box office is from China.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
More from China than the domestic market.
Of course. Yeah, and when we went to go see this, I mean, that theater was semi well attended,
Mhm.
I would say, for like an opening night of Meg 2: The Trench.
Yeah.
I don't know about you because we did see this
We
separately.
did.
But yeah, I think that there is just like a mild interest in these stupid big shark movies with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
And as you said, since this one is a financial success, I see no reason why they would not continue to make
Mhm.
these. I don't think we've got like an official confirmation
No.
of Meg 3.
No, which is
but-
I think the only thing that maybe quote unquote worries me about the potential
Yeah.
for the series to continue is the Meg 2 was announced like less than a month after the Meg in 2018. It took them 5
Yeah.
years to make it. And so even though it has been a month, this movie is successful. It is not as successful, and maybe they feel that it's going to be diminishing returns, which frankly, they're right. It is.
Yeah.
And it would be if they continued. But I think seeing as that we haven't already gotten an announcement, I'm a little hesitant that they'll continue.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that there's not source material to pull from, because what we discovered afterward is that this is based on a Meg book series, which has
Yes.
8 books in total. And I have a little phrase here. They can keep making these for decades if they want to.
I seem to remember before we started rolling on our Meg 2 review, I pulled up the plot description of the third book, and it's like set in Hollywood, and like it's a Hollywood producers that want to like use the Meg in movies or something like that. So I don't know if they'll stick with that, but I don't know why. Jason Statham doesn't seem like he's wanting to transform his stardom in any ways.
No, he did
in
Operation
terms of
Ruse de Guerre.
Exactly, in terms of like steering away from doing this kind of movie, because I'm sure he cuts massive checks on these films and other films of like this. So I don't see why, like from a creative standpoint, he would depart from this, because I don't think he'd do a Meg movie without Jason Statham.
Yeah,
but from a studio standpoint, diminishing returns may steer them away. Though studios love doing threes. They love doing trilogies.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah, and I can see them making another one probably because of that Chinese market. I think that is very soft here domestically. I mean, it's fine, but it's certainly not what you want to see for a movie with this kind of budget. And with an American star in the lead. But the fact that they can pretty much fucking
I know
English
what you
speaking.
mean. Yeah.
They're all Americans in my mind. But the fact that they can probably just continue to see this much, like they can guarantee they're going to get 100 million from China. If they can make another one of these and just like kind of end it off with like a whimper, but like, you know, make a little bit of cash, they obviously steered this movie and the first one towards that Chinese audience, including like there was like a Chinese research facility that they were working at, quite a few Chinese characters in this movie, and it's paying off for them. So they might have to really like change up what the plot of that third one is if they're going to base it lightly off that book. Maybe it is based in the Chinese film industry that once used Meg, which honestly, that sounds more interesting to me because I don't know anything about the Chinese film industry.
Though I don't know if the Chinese, Chinese movie production companies would be so eager to like shine a light on themselves.
Sure, but they can also shine a positive light.
That's a fair point.
It doesn't have to be truthful.
Though I also think that technically, like, the villain of the third one is like a Hollywood producer, but regardless, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Tucker, let's talk about another movie that's based on a book.
Oh,
Last Voyage of the
Demeter. Much older book, yeah.
Much older book.
Last Voyage of the Demeter, adaptation of Dracula, if you're not paying attention. Boy, howdy. I was, like, audibly moaning last night as I was inputting the numbers from Box Office Mojo. I'm like, oh no, baby. $6.5 million opening weekend on a budget of 45. Oh, it's been 3 weeks. Oh no, it's been a month now, and we're only at $21 million, and it's not going anywhere. Oh no, baby.
It's really bad, and not the movie, the turnout of this film. We like the movie, but it's really poor turnout, I think, and I don't know why, frankly. Is it just a lack of interest in it? Is it like poor marketing for this? I don't think this film had uniquely bad marketing.
No, I think it is actually, the more I think about it, just a really weird movie to promote. Because it doesn't say Dracula in the title. What the fuck does The Last Voyage of the Demeter...
For us, though.
Oh, does it
in international markets, it is Dracula, The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, they should have done that here, to be 100% honest. But also, there's not any big stars in it. The Dracula monster in this is a monster as opposed to someone who's charming, and you're casting, like, I'll spit a hole in here, like Nicolas Cage in the role. Yeah. But it's just a really weird movie to market because it is a horror movie, but it has no other real marketability other than that. Other than if you pay attention to the trailer, you might recognize that it is based on Dracula. Yeah,
exactly. And it's also been in development hell for a long time because, frankly, this is a good idea for a movie. This like tight, contained Dracula story where he is more monstrous as opposed to being like the Count to a certain extent. It's been in development hell since 1992 for decades.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom. You also have a very like 1992 cast. It looks like
these are people that were cast across the course of the last 25 years with 5 other directors at one point attached to direct. This is, of course, as we're saying, caught in development hell. But I think that we would have, if we'd seen this movie come out in 2008, I think this could have been a modest success alongside things like Joe Johnston's Wolfman movie.
Yeah.
And other reboots back then. But Ben Kingsley, Noomi Rapace, Jude Law, and Viggo Mortensen, all bigger names than everyone combined.
Yeah.
In this movie.
I think definitely if you put like a Jude Law in the lead of this thing, it back in the early aughts or late 90s, would have been a bigger hit.
You instantly like quadruple its domestic opening.
Yeah, I think so.
And if you call it Dracula Last Voyage of the Demeter and you've got Jude Law fighting Dracula,
I don't know why.
Like, let's fucking do it. Let's go for it.
I don't know why they didn't call it Dracula the Last Voyage of the Demeter in the US. They did it in like Australia, in the UK, and stuff like that. I don't know why not here. It's a clunkier title, to be fair.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's more marketable.
The Last Voyage of the Dramaculator.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, not much else to say about The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Was not received well by critics, it looks like, with a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's just too bad.
Audiences didn't really like it because I guess this is it's a little bit low for a horror score. It's horror movies don't almost ever get A's, and actually they can quite frequently get much lower than this.
Right.
But even it just seems like the people who saw it were okay with it, but no one saw it.
Yeah. A movie that I didn't think many people were going to go see is Blue Beetle, Tucker. And in fact, it is being much better received than I thought it might be, and it's doing better at the box office than I thought it would, though not good.
No.
It has just recently broken $100 million. It is still shying away from coming back to that making its production budget back. And at this point, I don't know if it will.
I think it'll make its production budget back.
Okay.
It's certainly getting anywhere close to doubling it. And I don't necessarily know how really strong the potential for Blue Beetle to be, merchandised is. I mean, it's certainly there because it's a superhero character, but I think it'll pass that 120 million mark. But not much past that. The only thing that you can really give this movie praise for is that it is well received with the 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it isn't as big a failure as it could have been because we were also coming off the heels of one of the biggest failures of the DCEU. The Flash, compared to its budget, though, the Flash still has made more total money than this. Actually, a lot more. But also Shazam! Fury of the Gods earlier this year, which is way less than this in its entire domestic run. So it's. If we're comparing it to those two movies, which are both failures on another level, Tanner, we're on an upward climb for the DCEU.
Oh, does this mean good news for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom?
I mean, maybe. I think that's the most marketable movie of the four they're putting out this year because the last one made
it's a good thing
$1 billion.
It's a good thing they're marketing it, though, isn't it?
Yeesh. When's Fandom? Are they doing a Fandom this year? I just gotta find out.
They aren't doing a fan. I don't think they're doing a Fandom this year. But you look it up. That movie comes out in October, November, December, in 3 months.
Yeah.
And we have nary a trailer for that film, nary a bit of anything. We don't even have an official poster, I don't think.
Yeah.
Or an official anything.
Yeah,
for
no
that
Fandom.
Film.
So no big crazy Lost Kingdom news coming our way from people on a fucking CGI stage.
Well, that's too bad. But yeah. People liked Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
It's got a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is the 14th and near final, the penultimate DCU film, and potentially the first DCU character.
We'll see. I don't fucking believe that for a minute.
Yeah, you don't think that we're seeing Blue Beetle showing up in James Gunn's DCU?
Look, I don't know. I mean, it depends on really how much he's carrying over, because he's already said some characters will carry over, and there's some contracts and some actors that he wants to keep around, and I think that he's probably happy with this movie being well received and having having the Latin American audience turning up for it in pretty solid amounts, and Sholomar Dueña doing a really good job as this character. So I can see him as a supporting character, showing up occasionally as a alternate version of this. I think what the great thing about Blue Beetle is it's contextually a DCEU movie, but it's not content-wise a DCEU movie.
No, absolutely not.
Reference to Batman and Superman aside, we're good. This
There's one of those in basically every DC movie.
This movie can happen in any DC universe and still be safe. So actually, I'm talking myself into it. I think that there's a chance that even if it's not a full sequel, that Blue Beetle can show back up in some form or fashion.
James Gunn is, of course, I believe, the guy who saved this from being buried on Max. He was the one who initially announced. Yeah, well, it was after his takeover of DC.
That's not true.
That it was. What?
No,
wasn't
because
it?
This movie was announced to be releasing in HBO Max in February of 2021. It was changed to theatrical in December of 2021, and James Gunn didn't become the head of DC until a year later.
Are you? I could have sworn that he was the one who announced it would be hitting theaters.
I don't think that's true.
Hang on.
Timeline of that does not line up.
Talk about Blue Beetle.
Okay. Interesting fact here that I learned while I was reading through the Blue Beetle Wikipedia page is director Angel Manuel Soto actually showed up to DC, and he didn't initially want to direct Blue Beetle, and he pitched them a Bane origin story movie. But then they put him on Blue Beetle, and he seems to be pretty happy that he was put on Blue Beetle. But very interesting that he pitched a Bane origin story. Would that be like a Joker type movie? A little more serious, a little more gritty,
No, Tucker. It's the original El Muerto.
Oh, that's a great point. But yeah, Blue Beetle, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Have you found out what you're looking for?
No, I haven't. When did James Gunn...
James Gunn didn't become head of DC until last year, buddy. I remember that pretty clearly.
Yeah, you're right. November 1st. I could have... For whatever... I made that memory up, apparently.
Yeah.
Where I've I just distinctly remember him tweeting out the Blue Beetle poster, teaser poster, and saying come to theaters, da. Though that might have been announced previously. That was just the first time that I heard of it.
Though I do want to say that I applaud DC for not double fucking this movie. They were initially going to single fuck it by sending it straight to HBO Max. Now Max, the one to watch. But they easily could have done the same thing that they did to Batgirl. Is they were no, these are dumb HBO Max movies. We're not going to do anything with these. But we got to see Blue Beetle, and it is a mild success, and it has potential for the future, and at least it fucking came out. So, out of the 2 HBO Max DC movies that were made, at least it wasn't completely fucked over.
Yeah.
Not a high bar.
Not a high bar. It wasn't discarded and thrown on a trash heap for tax money. And it's good. And we can't say that for Batgirl because we may never see that film.
Yeah. Who knows?
I feel like if we were gonna see Batgirl, it would have leaked online at this point.
Sure, maybe.
Because it's been over a year since that movie was scrapped now. But I don't know. Maybe they were successful in destroying every copy of it. That's too bad, though.
Tanner?
I wish this film had every copy of it destroyed. How about that? Strays.
That's a nice what do you call that?
A little segue.
Segue there. I was thinking okay, I've got motorbikes in my mind, I've got scooters in my mind. What is the phrase? I don't think it's scoot. I don't think it's motorcycle. Segue. There we go. That's the segue.
Yeah. $30 million thus far for Strays on a budget of $46 million. An opening of $8 million, 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. I never was really sure why. What studio is this? Is this Universal? I think it's Universal. Why they thought this was a good idea?
Well, here's the thing, actually. When you really look at the history of this movie, it becomes clear why it was made. This came out of Phil Lord and Chris Miller's first look deal that they signed with Universal in 2019, which, of course, is just them coming off the rollicking success of Spider-Verse. And so they're these fucking guys are creatives. Everyone loves them. They're really boosting up franchises across the board.
Yeah.
So let's give them their idea and let's give them the budget for it. And so it totally makes sense why Universal would be make this movie. You're producing it? Okay, you can do no wrong. But I think what they failed to realize is that no one gives a shit. And comedies aren't making a ton of money right now. And especially animal-based comedies, which we haven't seen one of those in the theaters. And I don't know if I ever have that isn't animated. And it's just a sad downward slope. Because you can imagine being in the boardroom and be like, oh yeah, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they've got their pitch. Sure, go ahead. This is gonna make us a fair bit of change, and it's gonna be fun, and they're gonna be creative and whatever. And then no one cares, and then and then COVID happens, and then comedies are less popular, and then initial opening set to 15 to 17. It doesn't make very much money in its opening Thursday and Friday. They're lowered to 8.5. It doesn't even hit that. It's nowhere near making its fucking budget back. Oh God, they're losing so much money on this. Strays.
Yeah. I also, Tucker, this may be another memory that I've made up. I have a memory of hearing that this film was supposed to be animated initially.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm looking that up right now.
I didn't see that on the Wikipedia page that I was...
I'm fact-checking myself.
You can just Control F animated on the Wikipedia page.
No, it's not on the Wikipedia page, and if I Google it, all I'm getting is the announcement that Stray is getting an animated movie, so... I'm going to say that that's not the case.
Once again, you're just making shit up in your own brain.
Yeah, I don't know. But this movie is probably cheaper than if they decided to make it animated.
Yeah, probably.
I would say because all you got to do is film dogs in the woods or whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, you say they're losing a lot of money on this, and they are losing money on it. But like, frankly, if I'm gonna stand by my morals here,
sure.
I should be saying, hey, it's kind of a good thing that they decided to make like a mid-budget comedy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And here's the thing. I enjoyed this movie, so I'm a little bit sad that it's not at least, people aren't going out to see this. But people aren't also going out to see this because mid-budget comedies just aren't popular anymore. Yeah. And this is just another example of that. The one light saving grace of this movie is that it was supposed to release in June, and they moved it to August. And I just don't think it would have done better.
This movie would have gotten eaten alive.
Exactly.
On June 9th, that's the same day as Transformers.
Yeah.
And
between Flash, Elemental, Indiana Jones. Good God, yeah. So, look, Universal, you made the right choice delaying it, which is actually one of the first times we can say that in this summer season. We're like, what the fuck happened with the release date? Why'd you move it there? This is gonna kill this movie, and it subsequently did for a lot of movies. But there was no good window to release Strays in this movie box office climate, but they chose the lesser of two evils. Yeah.
And last movie that we have to talk about here, Tucker,
is
the movie that rounded out the summer movie season, based on a true story, Gran Turismo.
I'm sorry, I didn't write that there.
I see that you mislabeled it here, Tucker, so that's marked against you.
Wait, is based on the true story come first?
Or after? I don't know if it's
after.
I think Gran Turismo is based on a true story. Yeah, I think it's after.
Yeah. Good.
In the logo, often it's like at the top.
Yeah.
So that's what got me. Okay. That's what got me twisted, as the kids say.
Sure, as Jan Mardenborough would say, as he's playing
he would say
Gran Turismo Sport.
$82 million worldwide for Gran Turismo so far. And Gran Turismo can't say a lot for itself for being a box office draw, but it can say one thing. And as I said to you last night when I popped this little factoid in there,
one of the most interesting factoids I've ever seen.
it's maybe emblematic of the impressive mediocrity of Gran Turismo based on a true story. It is the first film ever to be #1 in its debut weekend, despite never being the top-grossing film on that Friday, the Saturday, or its Sunday.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Yes. I believe it lost out to things like Barbie, obviously,
and Blue Beetle,
and Blue Beetle. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that those would have been the two big oppositions to Gran Turismo.
But it still came out on top, baby.
They were. Hey, technically still #1.
Yeah. So. Again, we're talking a little bit about mid-budget movies here. $60 million is a totally serviceable, comfortable budget. And it has made that back. And also, I just want to clarify, I mean, we all know this, but this is the latest movie here. And it is doing one of the best out of the ones that we've talked about. And there still is time for this movie to sit around at the box office, cross the $100 million mark. I think that can happen because we're only 2 weeks in to its domestic run. And so the fact that they did comfortably budget this, I think that it has, and especially because it is intended as marketing for Sony to make money on selling copies of Gran Turismo, I think that they will consider this movie a success at the end of the day. It's not a smash hit. It's not going to become a cult classic, but for its role as a mid-budget marketing movie, it's made its money back. Or it will be at least close enough to it where it's going to be profitable for Sony to have done this.
No, Tucker, the real market success for Gran Turismo is how many copies of Gran Turismo 7 they sell after the film's release. Because as we pointed out, that seems to be the only driving force in making this film is to promote the game. But yeah, what else do we have here? Oh yeah, it had some pre-screening fan events to hopefully drum up some real support.
Yeah,
for
like
this
2
movie.
weeks of them.
Yeah,
because the movie was delayed within its release month.
Yes, exactly.
Which is
it was part of Sony's big slight delay that we covered a couple months ago, I think, on one of these Backlot Banter episodes. I believe it was the June episode. And hey, in headlines, we got another slight delay coming up for you, another big studio slate delay. But it made $5 million from those early fan events. So, and those are included, of course, in its opening weekend figure. And so, if you remove those $5 million, it is the second worst opening of the year of a film that it was still number one in its weekend.
Even removing the $5 million, it still would have been number one.
So, number one in its weekend?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, actually, no, probably not.
No.
So, but regardless, if you take that away, it would have been it still maintains that number one status. But Tucker, I was going to quiz you.
Oh.
Can you name the number one lowest grossing opening weekend film that still was number one in its weekend? It was early in the year.
Was it 80 for Brady?
No, same month, February.
February movies.
Yeah, I don't think you saw this one.
Oh, Magic Mike then.
Yes,
yeah.
Magic Mike's Last Dance.
Yeah.
Is the lowest grossing weekend, but still number one.
Tracks. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, Gran Turismo. What a little piss ass ending to the summer here with movies that are not making money and we're supposed to go to HBO Max and are just solely just designed for brands and the Meg the Trench just designed to appeal to the Chinese market. No, Mutant Mayhem. Oh, that's fun. But the rest of this month, good God, this is an August to end all August, and we wanted to. Here's another great idea from the Sick Twisted Mind of Tiger Hazel. Starting to compare months because we're reaching the point where, and this is the first time we can do this. We have done Backlot Banter for 1 year, and we did an August episode last year, or at least we covered the summer movie season where we talked about some of these movies, and we reviewed all 6 of the movies in last August and all 6 of the movies in this August. So yes. I wanted to do a little game here each. It's not really a game. I just have some stats on screen. I'm just trying to bring a little energy to this fucking episode. God. Comparing year on year how we felt about August. Because I remember thinking back to last August, which was, other than 2021, the first time I really started thinking about August as like an Augusty month for fucking movies where it's like no one gives a shit.
The summer dumping ground. Yeah.
And I felt it last summer. But on average, it was still a better month for us in the movies we reviewed than this summer was. Because we have an average of 6.2 in 2022, with the 6 movies being Bullet Train, Beast, Bodies, 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 The Invitation, Fall, and 3,000 Years Longing. Now, I'm cheating a little bit there with Fall, because we reviewed that, but it wasn't a major movie. That's easily the smallest movie.
But hey, it makes it an even 6, so that's worth it. I'll count it.
And I did want it to be like, somewhat comparable in that. And I think that, in all honesty, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is kind of the defining factor here. Because we both really liked that movie. And otherwise, it's like, okay, I liked Fall more than most people. And I mean, I liked Bullet Train and 3,000 Years Long. And I think you like 3,000 Years Long as well. But, like, it is better, but it's still an average of barely over half. So we're comparing a shit to a turd here.
But 2023 is even more barely over half. So
yes, that's true, especially because I think you were a lot lower on a lot of these movies. I liked Strays and Blue Beetle, but you didn't like Strays, and you thought Blue Beetle was fine. But it's just really interesting. Let's see what can we compare here. Last Voyage of the Demeter versus The Invitation. Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Like vampires, easily. Very good. I'm gonna say Bullet Train and Meg 2.
Yeah,
because it's like the big action movie
first week of August, big action movie.
Yeah. We didn't talk about it here because it was only in limited release in like 100 theaters, but technically Bottoms also had its theatrical debut in August.
And that would have been versus Bodies, Bodies.
Bodies, 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 Rachel Sennett on that beat. Fall and Beast and
Yeah, there's not really one-to-one
uh
comparisons here, and 3,000 Year
no.
Longing, nothing is like that. Nothing ever will be like that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, August is a fun month to cover because honestly, we're the only one who gives a shit. Like you look at these
Yeah.
2022 movies, and it's like, okay, like film Twitter likes Spotties, but
Right.
people didn't see 3,000 Years of Longing, and no one knows
No.
what Beast Fall or The Invitation are.
Uh-huh.
And Bullet Train was a modest success, but
Bullet Train was a modest success, and more people probably watched it on Netflix, but it does not have a lasting legacy one
no,
year later.
no. And the only thing that'll come out of this August is Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're like 1 versus 1.5 for last year.
Yeah.
Of successes here for the summer.
And looking back, but not as far back as last August, let's check in on last time on Backlot Banter, talking about the smash hit month that was July.
Yeah.
We have, of course, these are the worldwide total numbers from when we talked about these films in last month's episode, versus where they sit as of, well, yesterday when we updated these numbers. So, Insidious in the Red Door came out of the gate strong last month, of course, at the beginning July with 182 million. It has raked in just a couple more millions of dollars since then, and it has wrapped up its theatrical run for a while now, I think, actually. But is still like a huge horror success for the year.
I believe it's the highest grossing horror movie of the year.
Yeah, I think so.
Please, September and October, please knock this down a peg. Please. I cannot stand to have this movie be the highest grossing horror movie of the year.
I think it will, but we'll have to just wait and see. Anyway, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Actually,
recently
holding around pretty good in its second month of release.
Yeah, honestly.
With an almost $100 million, or another $70 million in its pocket.
Yeah.
Still not enough. But
no, I believe it has, as of yesterday, essentially wrapped up its domestic theatrical run. Yeah. And it comes in at around 560, which is not good. No bueno for old Tommy C.
Yeah. For like, the 15th highest budgeted movie of all time or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's in there for most expensive movies ever made. But anyway, Tucker, we do have good news.
We have a couple great news. A couple bits of great news. Fucking post-pandemic era.
When we talked about Barbie last month, it had already made $1 billion.
Yes.
It has since made $1.4 billion, becoming the highest grossing film of 2023. So, I mean, was there really any doubt? I think there was doubt
before the movie came out,
time ago. Yeah. But when it started really raking in, I think around the time that it made $400 million, I was like, this movie's gonna make $1 billion.
Well, no, yeah, because it made like $400 million in like its first 10
a couple days.
Yeah,
yeah. But Oppenheimer as well has made $556 million. As of right now, it has made $866,
inching its way towards $1 billion, a hypothetical billion.
I don't think it's gonna make it. If it can cross there,
I don't think it's gonna make it.
It's insane that it will end up with like 900
within spitting distance.
Yeah, which is like, for whatever reason, my favorite reference for a movie that almost makes $1 billion is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Sure, that's accurate. Yeah.
But it's insane that Oppenheimer has made as much money as like a much hyped MCU film from last year.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Here's the thing about the success of both of these movies, and these movies have been talked to death, and we're going to continue to talk about them. But is that both of these movies are new ideas, creatively successful from creative directors, not quote unquote not based on previous IP, at least in the theatrical market, which is basically the exact opposite of anything else that has released this year. We are so sequel inundated, and this is not new. This has been happening for 20 years at this point. But the fact that lots of these sequelitis, low effort, pumping them out just to fill a slot movies have been not making crazy money. And then two movies that are creatively successful and will be in the Oscars race and are making a ton of money are successful.
Yeah.
One can dream that this will mean good things for a wider range of creators making more money at the box office, and it's slightly shifting the way that studios perceive what a big summer blockbuster can be. The reality is it probably won't. But we now have two incredibly strong, almost strongest ever examples of it doesn't need to be in a long-running franchise. It just needs to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
And properly marketed.
Never underestimate the ability of Hollywood producers to take the wrong lesson from a financial success. And as we've talked about already, and as many people have pointed out, they are already doing that with the Mattel Cinematic Universe, thinking like Rock'em Sock'em Robots and Hot Wheels can make $1 billion too. No, they can't. No, they can't. Stop. Let me stop you right there. Those movies can't do it, and none of the other 40 films that you already have outlined in your Mattel Cinematic Universe plan, none of them are gonna do that. Shut the hell up.
Except for Ken, maybe.
Yeah.
Haunted
Mansion made $59 million when we talked about it last time, and
it crossed the worldwide century mark.
It did. Yeah. Congratulations, Haunted Mansion.
What's it sitting at domestic? Hold on, I just gotta pull this up.
Ooh, can I venture a guess?
Sure.
I'm gonna say 50.
No, Tanner, you are grossly underestimating the power of Haunted Mansion. 64.
Oh, my mistake. Whoa!
This $150 million budget movie made $64 million domestically. Holy shit!
And then, Tucker, the lowest grossing, the most disappointing film on this entire slide is Talk to Me, which made $26 million when we talked about it, and has thus only made $66 million. And you might be looking at that number saying, oh my god, I can't believe this horror film from A24 is such a flop. Nay, Tucker, I say to you.
I don't think anyone's saying that. I think you're just creating a hypothetical guy that doesn't know about the budget of A24 movies.
This movie cost $4.5 million. Yeah. It has made more than 10 times its budget back. And as we've both excitedly talked about, already has a sequel greenlit, already has a prequel filmed from the creators of this film. So, good stuff.
This might be my favorite success of the summer. Yeah. Because it does prove that low-budget indie horror, properly marketed and with a distinct creative vision, can be incredibly successful for itself. And of course, we've seen that in previous years, like with Terrifier 2 last year. What the fuck? The movie's budget was like $100 million, something stupid like that, and then just made like a shitload. I'm really happy. I love horror, and I love
$100,000.
$100,000.
I think you said 100. I think you made 100.
I always get those mixed up. I don't think I've ever mixed it upwards though. I usually say like, oh, this movie made $300,000. No, it didn't. But now I'm saying that Terrifier 2 had a budget the same as Across the Spider-Verse. But
Terrifier 3 though, you gotta watch out for that. They're really raking that up. Yeah.
But I'm so happy to Talk to Me. Also, I believe Talk to Me is like the third highest grossing movie in A24 history, or something incredible like that. And also their highest grossing horror movie, I think.
Nice.
So Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Tucker, let's look at how the top 10 has changed up. I have last month's pulled up as well.
Okay.
We have a big change up, obviously, that we both saw coming, I think. And that is that, as I said previously, Barbie is the highest grossing film of the year, domestically and worldwide.
Yep.
It has made $614.5 million since we last talked. Yeah, not that impressive.
Yeah.
Bumping down Mario, which has not made, I can't believe it, hasn't made any more money. Can you believe it, Tucker?
Well, it technically has. Because it's still in
I guess it has. Yeah. Oh, I guess it.
What was it at last time?
574.2.
Yes! $700 million more dollars.
700,000, Tucker.
Shit! God damn it!
If it made $700 million more dollars,
Tanner, I just can't get it right. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I don't think there's a lot of change-ups after that. We still have
there is one.
Well, I'll get to it. Across the Spider-Verse is still third. Guardians of the Galaxy is fourth. Oppenheimer, actually, thank you, Doctor, has moved up a spot and bumped down Little Mermaid. Oppenheimer now sitting at the 5th spot, Little Mermaid at 6th, Quantumania 7th, John Wick Chapter 4 at number 8, and then one last change up for you here. Sound of Freedom has moved past Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, become the 9th highest grossing domestic film this year.
Now look, we don't want to talk too long about Sound of Freedom. I don't remember even how much air we gave it in the month that it came out, because that movie just leaves my mind the minute after I talk about it. But okay, well actually we're a little bit off on its total here. It's at 190 million.
Oh god.
But want to know why that is, Tanner? It's
why?
Received international theatrical release within the last 2 weeks. And so, yeah.
Tucker, these are domestic numbers.
Oh, my bad. Oh, so it is 182. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong line. My bad.
Okay.
$190,000. I did that
Well,
on
there you
purpose
go.
that time. But yeah, it's received international release, and so it's still making money, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But oh well, oh god,
Yeah.
It will be kicked off.
Well, Tucker, I wanted to ask you about that. Let's talk about it right now. We are in the interim right now. We are in the August, September. We are looking ahead to the fall and winter movie seasons. Okay, Tucker, what movies this year do you think can
Make
break this
$200
top
million?
10? Yeah. Let me run a couple of these titles by you
Great.
here. I'll just start. I'll be weeding them out myself and just kind of throwing things at you.
Okay.
The Creator.
No, I have no faith in that movie.
Okay. Killers of the Flower Moon.
No.
Okay. Five Nights at Freddy's?
No, not $180 million. No.
Okay. The Marvels?
Yes, that will make $180 million.
Okay. No, we got one on the board. We got the Marvels on the board. Hunger Games.
No, not that much. But
Okay.
maybe. That's a maybe. Yeah.
We got 1.5 on the board so far. Napoleon?
No.
Wish?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Probably.
Okay, well that's a total of 2 on the board. December movies? Boy.
Wonka and Aquaman are really only the 2.
Wonka Man?
Those are both maybes.
Those are both maybes? Okay.
I think Wonka's less of a maybe.
Yeah, Aquaman is... We'll see. But, if the DC movies so far this year are any indication...
And Tanner, I don't want to oversell it, but I think there's a chance that Migration, because it's from Illumination and it's releasing in that winter slot, that could be big. I don't know if it will be. There's also the chance that it's easily like, oh, this is Illumination's lowest grossing movie, and no one gives a fuck about it.
Hang on, let me pull up what was the last original thing they did? I think it might have been Secret Life of Pets. So let me pull up that.
That was huge.
Was it? Oh yeah, that definitely made $200 million domestically.
Yeah, Secret Life of Pets is massive. Yeah.
Okay.
So putting in Migration this well, there's a solid batch. Because
the for sure's are Marvels and Migration. It sounds like
maybe. Well, I don't want to undersell Migration either or oversell.
Okay.
Because it's also a chance that it's like, oh, this is Illumination's lost their sauce here. No one gives a fuck. But there are enough things here to where even if most of them don't hit that, I think we're safe. Tanner, I think we're safe from having the history books note Sound of Freedom as one of the highest grossing domestic movies of 2023. I think we're safe.
Okay. But I just have to point out that Dead Reckoning is number 11, sadly.
Oh man.
So yeah.
Oh no! Dial Destiny made more than that. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Fuck, man. and, here's the thing. We wouldn't have had to worry about this, but here's a little segue for you, Tanner. Dune Part 2 got delayed out of the year. So that was a guaranteed top 10er there, but not anymore, baby.
Yes. There was a lot of guarantees that Dune Part 2 had under its belt, it being in the top 10 domestically, having lots of Oscar nominations that have thus had to be shuffled around because Warner Brothers has delayed a lot of its big upcoming movies. Dune Chapter 2 is now coming out on March 15th of 2024. It took that spot from
slot.
Godzilla X Kong, The New Kingdom, I believe. Is
no, it's something like that, but it's not.
New Empire.
Yeah.
New Empire.
You fucking idiot.
That movie now comes out on April 12th, and that means that the animated Lord of the Rings movie that was supposed to come out in April has now been pushed to holiday 2024.
That's crazy. That's a huge delay. That's a Craven-style delay.
I'm actually, mildly excited for that because it just sounds cool. Yeah. It's, apparently supposed to be, it's coming from a Japanese studio, I think, is doing it. So it's going to be in that anime style that we all love so much.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Other things. Rebel Moon Chapter 2 is also coming in April of next year. Yeah. That was a big surprise.
It was.
When the trailer dropped.
At Gamescom?
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, because Zack Snyder came on stage with Jeff Keighley, and Jeff's like, "Hey, how you doing, Zach? You're a gamer too." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm making a game about my movie. Here's a trailer for my movie." Not showing the game, just saying that there is a game, and then saying that actually it's a two-parter, and the second one's already filmed, which is awesome. I mean,
and it's coming out 4 months after the first one.
Yeah, I'm honestly really happy that it is like a complete sort of thing. Like we don't have to worry about Rebel Moon not doing well enough on Netflix. I don't really even know how they would like fucking say that, but like apparently even if it might only be a two-parter or it might not, but like at least we've got like a pair of these movies coming out. I'm happy about this.
I think that Rebel Moon will do quite well.
Sure.
I think that it sort of has that like Dune aura about it that is to the general audience an original sci-fi thing, even though Rebel Moon really is an original sci-fi concept.
For like the first time in a long time.
And it's also coming out in that like late December slot, so people will be home for the holidays. They'll be sitting down. It's like, I got 2.5 hours to watch Rebel Moon. Yeah. Why not? I just assume it's going to be 2.5 hours long. I don't really know.
Yeah, I have no idea. Let me see if I can figure out what that
but what else? Tucker, what else? The Marvel VFX artists will be voting to unionize in just a couple days. This could mean...
It is 2.5 hours, you're right.
My instincts are so right. Zack Snyder, I read you like a goddamn book, pal. Anyway, they're voting to unionize in just a couple days as of recording this.
And and that will happen. They will vote to unionize. Of course they will, because they've been treated like absolute ass for especially like the last 5 years. But we'll see if it actually does anything for them, because the studios are so goddamn stubborn that even with unions, it doesn't seem like anything's happening.
Even well-established unions are having a hard time negotiating with the
century-old unions.
Yes, but hey, all the luck to them. It's hot union summer, baby, and we are supporting the unions' entertainment industry and outside of the entertainment industry. This is just an interesting tidbit. Speaking of Disney, Craig Mazin, who has just come hotly off of writing the first season of The Last of Us for HBO, and Ted Elliott. Tucker, can you pull Ted Elliott up a second? See what this guy's done. They apparently wrote a new Pirates of the Caribbean film that Disney liked before the strike happened. So
screenwriter for Aladdin, the original Aladdin, Shrek, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, At World's End, On Stranger Tides, Lone Ranger. And then this movie.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Apparently, there is a script that Disney likes for another Pirates of the Caribbean film. So
advisor on ants.
Good. That's when they'll push me over the line. I now have faith in this project. But yeah, I mean, sans Johnny Depp, we'll see how a new Pirates of the Caribbean film does. I guess I just assume that this won't have Johnny Depp in it.
I doubt it.
But yeah, I just watched all those movies quite recently, and I think the first three are good, and it sounds like Ted Elliott wrote those first three. So hey, I'm excited. I like Pirates of the Caribbean on the whole.
Yeah, but I mean, especially with Craig Mazin, one of the like burgeoning creative writing voices of this generation at the helm. I think it'll feel different, and I think that it'll be able to catapult this franchise back into its former glory.
I know that Margot Robbie was also
that was a different one.
Circling. Oh, a different.
That was a different like Pirates like spin-off or whatever the fuck where she was the main character. I don't think that the two are related. She could be in the movie easily. I don't fucking know, but
I think Disney would be very interested in getting her back if they can.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, Tucker.
We got an interesting box office story locked in for this month.
Not a name that you thought would come up in a box office show, but surprise, surprise, she has a concert film for her very popular Eras Tour that just got a release date for October 13th of this year. And it has broken the first day AMC pre-sale ticket record. That money, it has... In the first 24 hours, the Eras Tour concert film made $26 million at AMC alone, I might add. The previous record was held, of course, by Spider-Man No Way Home, when that had only made 16.9 in the first 24 hours. Yeah, exactly. This is also quite interesting, and this is something that we can maybe talk about more when we actually talk about the Eras Tour film, which of course we will when it comes to that October episode, but something that I had heard is, again, just more like studio execs fucking shit up. Apparently, the Taylor Swift team went to all the big studios and said, hey, we have an Eras Tour film,
Yeah.
concert film filmed. We would like you to distribute it. And they're like, okay, we'll give you, I don't know, $12 for this thing. And then and then the Taylor Swift team was like, no, we think it's worth more than that. And they're like, nah, no, it's not. And so the Taylor Swift team just went straight to the big theater companies and said, hey, we'd like to distribute this straight through you. And they're like, of course, yes, we'll take it, of course. And then it's probably going to be like one of the highest grossing films of the year. So the all the studios just really fumbled
Absolutely.
that, I would say.
I mean, to no one's surprise that they're just like underestimating a fucking juggernaut. But this is going to be interesting. And my mind immediately goes to like reticent to talk about this, like, oh, it's not a real movie. But like, look, it's a fucking box office show. And even though I probably won't see it, and I have no real interest in Taylor Swift, the fact that an independent team is distributing a movie that's breaking ticket records and is going to be probably the most major box office draw for people to come to theaters in its month. Yeah. That is something we have to talk about. And this could, I mean, there has been successful concerts and films in the past.
Yeah,
but mostly limited time. Fathom Events likes to do them. They're usually sort of big for their weekend. It's usually BTS, especially in recent times. But this could change things for theatrically distributed music shows.
I think domestically, the highest grossing concert film is Justin Bieber's Never Say Never tour concert film, which made $73 million domestically total. And this is going to beat that opening day. Handily opening day.
That's crazy.
So yeah, look out for all the Swifties coming to a theater near you.
And it'll be really interesting to track October, especially. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but it'll be interesting to track that because it could eat the lunch of like every other movie coming out around it. We could hypothetically be looking at movies that would have been successful and will no longer be successful because everyone is using their like quote unquote October movie ticket to like go to the theaters to see Taylor Swift.
It's also worth noting that they are since this is a special event, they can charge like an exorbitant price. I'll say it, an exorbitant price for this.
You know? Did you get tickets?
I think not yet, but I am going to go see it because I feel like I have to. It's going to be like the movie-going of the second movie-going event of the summer of the year, rather. No. But I will, and apparently at AMC's they're charging $19.89 because it's Taylor Swift. But at our local theater it's like $21 or something like that.
Shit.
So yeah, they are. It's going to make money hand over fist.
Oh man.
Speaking of movies maybe getting their lunch eaten by this, we already have one weedy little nerd moving out of the way of big bully Taylor Swift coming into town.
Is the weedy little nerd David Gordon Green?
It is indeed. The Exorcist Believer was scheduled to come out on October the 13th, Friday the 13th, for a horror movie. It all makes sense. But no, it got pushed up to October 6th, just to get slightly out of the way of this thing.
Which is a good thing for this movie.
Yeah.
And also that first week of October had previously been empty. So we now have a more full month because of that. And this is a good thing for Exorcist because it would not have it explicitly would not have done better if it had released the same day as this fucking concert. But we'll see. It could be cool. 2 reasonably big back-to-back weeks.
I'll just touch on this briefly because it's not like a box office thing, but like Rotten Tomatoes got in some hot water because apparently a studio, not a big one actually after I looked into the story, but like a studio kind of had been paying some reviewers on the site to like bump up their numbers artificially, their scores for some films. Wasn't like Warner Brothers or Universal or whatever, but like they just got in some hot water.
But also,
over that.
Not Rotten Tomatoes' fault.
No.
So get them out of the studio. Like, Rotten Tomatoes just is the place that scores go up. That's not their problem.
It's an aggregator.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And surprise, surprise, The Boy and the Heron, which I believe is screening at TIFF, I think yesterday actually, is not Miyazaki's last film. Apparently he has multiple film ideas still in the works.
You jackass!
Yeah.
Why were you saying this if you knew you were lying?
He said it. He said it 10 years ago too. For The Wind Rises, he's like, "This is my last movie. This is my last one."
What a guy.
And
what a
then
guy.
it's so funny. I think it's very funny. Okay, Tucker, a look at the month ahead, or a look at the month that we're like kind of almost halfway through already. Sorry. The Equalizer 3, The Nun 2, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, A Haunting in Venice, Expendables 4, Saw X, Paw Patrol, The Mighty Movie. All these sequels coming out in September. Get hyped.
Yeah.
And of course we have some original projects as well, like Dumb Money, It Lives Inside, The Creator, and A24's Dix the Musical.
Sure. Fun month here. I'm excited.
Yeah.
You've seen 3 of them. I've seen 2 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how much fun this month is going to be to talk about. Though, there are movies here that could do either great or not very good. Haunting in Venice is a really big question mark for me. The Creator is a very big question mark for me. We're gonna get to talk about Saw for the first time on this show. The Expendables is a major question mark because they're not fucking marketing that movie.
Yeah.
And who knows about Dumb Money and It Lives Inside? Who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows? Never mind. Scratch that. This is going to be a fun month to talk about.
Okay. Tucker, let's talk about what we think is going to be the top 5 this month. A little bit. We have the same 5 movies, but in a different order, as we often do.
Yeah.
You go first.
Oh, okay. Mine, I've got Equalizer 3 at the top, which we know what it made, but that we made these predictions before that was happening. Nun 2, Saw X, The Creator, and Haunting in Venice. Now, as I said, a couple of these are question marks for me. The Creator, I have little faith in, especially opening against, as you're saying, 2 sequels, Saw X and Paw Patrol, covering 2 pretty significant niches for making money, the kids market and the horror market. And The Creator just being weird, I don't have the faith that this is going to be massive, but I do think that it has perfectly serviceable marketing, and I think it'll make enough money to crack the top 5. And then Haunting in Venice, I have no fucking clue, man. I have no goddamn clue.
So I tried to look into some of the previous box office numbers that previous installments of many of these franchises had, because they are almost entirely sequels. Yeah. And then I just scaled that number down a bit for the movie-going attitudes of the year. So what I have is The Nun 2. I'm predicting that at $40 million, and we'll be getting some finals on that just in the next couple days here. The Equalizer 3, I'm saying 35, and I actually don't know what it made. Do you have
that actually sounds like head? Fucking right on the money. 1 second.
Okay.
Equalizer 3, yeah, you're right, Tanner. 34 million, 34.6 million, Tanner.
Nice. The Creator, I'm saying 25. I looked into some other, like, original sci-fi films for that, and then just knocked that down significantly.
Sure.
Things like Arrival, I looked at. A Haunting in Venice, I'm saying 20, and then I'm saying 15 for Saw X. Now, Tucker, I wasn't really familiar with the box office turnout of Saw films, but they are not like, especially in the modern era, not massively financially. Sure. They're successful, but they're not massive, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just our own Saw fandom that has exploded this franchise in our minds. But like, Spiral, of course, is a different animal. But like, Jigsaw didn't make that much money, so I don't know. I just don't know if the Saw heads are out there. You know,
we will certainly see, and we will be back at the end of September to talk about all these goddamn sequels. So many fucking sequels. Good God.
Yes.
And some original projects that may or may not make money. There, that's the name of the game here.
But that I am nonetheless excited for.
Here's my favorite thing about you and me. All right, we see everything. We went to see My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Do we care about that franchise?
Correct.
No. Were we super interested in that genre? No. We just like to see new movies, like always.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And it means that I'm always excited for everything coming out, even if I shouldn't care about it, because it contributes to this story of the year and what's releasing around it, and talking about this box office stuff and having that personal connection to seeing it on opening night. I don't give a fuck about half these movies, but I'm excited for them nonetheless.
Yeah. I'm genuinely excited for like Saw X and The Creator, but yeah, I share that same just like general interest in new films that you do. But we'll see what we think of actually all of these films and of how they turned out at the box office next month.